June 1944. The Atlantic Ocean was not just water and waves, it was a battlefield, silent and merciless. Beneath the surface, a steel predator lurked, the German submarine U-505. It had survived depth charges, aerial bombardments, mechanical failures, and yet, it kept returning from the dead. This is the story of the submarine that refused to die. A story of courage, chaos, and a desperate fight under crushing oceans, where every breath could be your last. And on that fateful day, the hunters became the hunted. Before it became a legend, the U-505 was just steel, sweat, and silence. Launched in 1941 from Hamburg, Germany, it was designed to hunt in the dark the unseen predator of the Atlantic. Fresh paint, new engines, polished torpedo tubes, but no one aboard knew the horrors waiting beneath the waves. Commander Axel Olaf Lau and his crew pushed off for their first mission. Young men, confident, untested, believing the ocean would obey them. But the Atlantic doesn't obey anyone. Their first patrol would change everything and mark the beginning of a cursed voyage. They thought the first mission would be a clean victory. Hunt the enemy, fire torpedoes, return as heroes. But the Atlantic had other plans. Just days after their first successful strike, the ocean answered back. British destroyers began the hunt. Their sonar pings echoed through the steel walls like a heartbeat of death. Depth charges rained down from above, giant steel barrels filled with explosives designed to crush submarines like tin cans. Inside the U-505, lights flickered, pipes burst, water leaked through the hull. For the first time, the crew felt fear, real, suffocating fear. They weren't hunters anymore, they were prey. The U-505 survived the depth charges, but survival came with a price. Silence filled the submarine, broken pipes, dying engines, and men who no longer trusted the sea or each other. Whispers of bad luck spread through the steel corridors. Tools went missing, valves were tampered with. Some claimed they heard knocking sounds from the hull like ghosts calling from the deep. Food spoiled, batteries failed, oxygen grew thin. Was it sabotage? Was it madness? Or was the U-505 truly cursed? In the darkness below the Atlantic, fear became their new enemy. The ocean erupted. The first depth charges fell like thunder from the sky. Explosions shattered the silence. Water turned into fire inside U-505. Lights flickered, pressure gauges spun wildly. Steam burst from pipes. Men were thrown against the metal walls as the submarine groaned under the blast waves. Captain Lang held onto the railing, shouting above the chaos. Seal the compartments. Hold the depth. But the sea had no mercy. Another explosion. Closer. Louder. Bolts flew from the ceiling. Water began spraying from cracked seams, flooding the engine room. Sailors fought to contain it, hands trembling, fear in their eyes. Outside, destroyers circled like wolves. Their propellers chopped the water, dropping more depth charges, each one closer to the kill. Then silence, but it wasn't over. A single torpedo was loaded inside U-505, its last chance. If they didn't strike now, they would die in the dark. The torpedo shot out like a silent arrow, cutting through the black waters of the Atlantic. Every man on board U-505 held his breath. No one spoke. No one moved. They could only listen to the sound of destiny rushing forward. Above, the USS Chatelaine continued its hunt, unaware of the steel predator racing toward it. Inside the submarine, the lights dimmed. The pressure kept rising. Water still poured in from cracked seams. Some men prayed. Others stared at the steel walls, waiting for the end, whether theirs or the enemy's. Then contact. A thunderous explosion lit up the ocean floor. The torpedo struck near the destroyer's stern, metal twisted. Fire burst across the sea. But the destroyer did not die. T turned. Now, the hunter was enraged. Depth charges prepared. Anti-submarine mortars aimed. Depth charges prepared. Anti-submarine mortars aimed. U-505 dove deeper past safe limits, past survival depth. The submarine creaked like a dying beast, but it refused to break. The U-505 had survived the impossible, crushed by pressure, hunted by destroyers, torn by explosions, yet it still moved. But survival was no longer enough. As dawn broke over the Atlantic, U-505 surfaced. Barely alive, smoke poured from its exhaust. Pieces of metal hung loose from the hull. The crew was exhausted, soaked, broken. Above them, the U.S. Navy carrier USS Guadalcanal and its destroyers surrounded the submarine like steel giants. This was the first time in World War II that an enemy U-boat was about to be captured intact. Alarms blared. Captain Lang gave the order he never imagined he would speak: abandon ship. Sailors jumped into the cold ocean, fear and shame mixing in their eyes. American boarding teams raced toward the crippled submarine, guns raised, hearts pounding. Inside the U-505, machinery still hissed. Water flooded the lower decks, engines dying like the last breath of a beast. But the submarine did not sink. It refused to die. For the first time, the hunters stepped inside the hunted, and the world would never forget what they found.